Canadian cities are spreading every year into the best agricultural land in the country. One of these areas, the Niagara Peninsula, lies along the southern shore of Lake Ontario, between Hamilton and Niagara Falls. 5 miles wide by 40 miles long, it's as warm as Northern California and is the center of Ontario's fruit farming and winemaking. For 200 years, peaches, cherries, pears, and grapes have been grown here. But it wasn't until this century that the Niagara Peninsula became the fruit basket of Canada. Historically, cities have always grown on the most fertile lands, and here in southern Ontario, the process is being repeated. As the cities of the peninsula spread, the farmlands are being squeezed. The army of urbanization is advancing into the countryside. It is a Sunday afternoon on Albert Very's farm. Today is a special day for Albert Very. 79-year-old Paul Lipinski has come to join the picnic.
Well, what do you think?
Well, everything according to order, you know, and I am here.
Well, I'm glad. It's about time.
Yeah. But I could not find myself by myself.
You couldn't
never.
find it?
No.
Oh, it's so easy, Paul, from your house.
Oh, yes, so easy, if you know it, you know.
We have a fast look now. Well, what do you think of the little homestead over there?
No, I did not see much yet, you know.
Well, there's not too much to see, not this year.
Al is the son of an Italian immigrant. He loves the land and wants more than anything to be a full-time farmer. When he and Paul get together, the subject is always farming.
Yeah,
But the hay is working good, you know?
Yeah, of course, I know. There is much, I have the same in the greenhouse too, you know, mulching, you know. It saves lots of water, evaporation of the, and it helps the plant, you know, to even ripening without splitting.
Paul also has a small farm a few miles away. But Al is not yet a full-time farmer. During the rest of the week, he works in Hamilton as a fruit and vegetable wholesaler. So these Sundays on the farm are really a first step towards establishing a new way of life for himself and his family, away from the noise and pressures of the city and closer to the land.
I'm going to get 18 or 20 tons an acre on these tomatoes, I hope.
That's very good. That's very good. The more, the better.
Ah, but you see, if you're going to convince people that you can grow stuff organically, then you've got to get at least as much yield as you can chemically. Because then they say, how are you going to feed the millions of people if everybody went to organics?
Do not try to convince. You will have the difficulty of your whole lifetime, and you will not accomplish very much. First, attend to your life and enjoy it, you know. That's the main thing.
For Paul Lipinski, the meaning of life is to work the land and care for it. Since 1941, he has been growing superb tomatoes, melons, grapes, and corn to sell to the people in the nearby city of Hamilton. He uses organic methods, no pesticides or chemical fertilizers.
A little too wet to go on the land now. So what can we do? We have to work inside and do some transplanting or whatever there is to be done. How does the sky look? Everything is blue and nice. Afternoon we have again thunder showers. What can I do? Go to bed?
Where did you get this chicken shit, Paul?
From a farmer, you know, that has the chicken ready for fall killing for the freezer, and he said, if you want it, you can have it for cleaning out the stable, you know. So I clean it out, and there is good stuff. It really smells like the bush. All the odor is gone, ready for the plant to use. How sweet. To him who knows. Mankind has been slow, very slow, in learning the material secrets of the interrelationship of cause and effect in the domain or realm of energy, matter, and life. In contact with nature, you get the intuitive understanding and knowledge of the things, that you are a part of it and all the things, and you enjoy it.
Does a man who is in contact with the soil have a greater peace of mind?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. And this cannot be bought and cannot be sold. It has to be acquired. This is part of man's nature. He came from the soil. He returns to the soil.
But as Paul Lipinski has grown old, the 20th century has begun to move in on him with a vengeance. Already he has lost part of his farm to the Skyway Bridge that spans Hamilton Bay. On his farm, the ceaseless noise of traffic has replaced the gentler sounds of nature. From the big cities, the concrete and steel is on the march into the Niagara Peninsula. On this land a few years ago, farmers like Paul Lipinski were growing melons. Gone forever, some of the best farmland in Canada. The beaches are disappearing too. Burlington Beach, in the shadow of the Skyway Bridge, where once thousands of people spent their summer holidays. Anyone who swims here now does so at his own risk. A few miles along the shore, the land remains in agriculture. One of the people deeply interested in preserving what's left is Dr. Victor Chanasik, Dean of the School of Landscape Architecture at the University of Guelph.
Victor, the uniqueness of the Niagara Peninsula, is it a very special part of Canada?
Indeed it is. It is from a scenic point of view, it is from an agricultural point of view, it is from a strategic point of view. And I think that the implication of all of this is that if we do feel that it is indeed a very strategic resource, then it ought to be incumbent upon us to find other areas in which the kind of activity that is taking place there today ought to be located. Somehow there is a particular combination of circumstances which has given rise to a great deal of speculation of land which does not reflect its best kind of use.
In Ottawa, Bill Andres, a newly elected member of Parliament for the Niagara area, himself a peach farmer, discusses the problem with the Minister of Agriculture, Eugene Whalen.
Well, in the Niagara Peninsula, of course, there's been a lot of pressure, as you are well aware, Mr. Minister, to develop the land. The climate is ideal, the accessibility to large urban centers. It does appear to be an ideal place to live. So the pressure has been on in the Niagara Peninsula to develop it for housing, residential, industrial, and so on, because of our accessibility to transportation systems. And consequently, much of the Niagara Peninsula has been developed.
The wave of speculation always moves a few miles in advance of development, spreading out from the cities through the agricultural lands, so that most Canadian cities are surrounded by a belt of derelict land, owned by speculators, taken out of production, abandoned.
I think that inside I weep a little every time I drive the Queen Elizabeth Highway when I see these beautiful vineyards being taken over by industry which very likely could have been placed elsewhere. It's very hard to be detached in this kind of a situation. If one takes a trip through that area every 6 months, one can see the deterioration and the encroachment on these natural resources, which are, of course, irreplaceable.
At the Vineland Research Station, 40 new varieties of peaches, now grown on the Niagara Peninsula, have been developed in recent years by scientists like Ollie Brad and Stan Luty.
When you first started in the peach business here, most of the peaches grown were one variety.
Alberta.
All the peaches came in at one season in late September, mid to late September. Through work done at this station and others, the peach season now extends from late July right through to the early part of October.
The last failure in the Niagara Peninsula was in 1933-34, when the temperature dropped to 16 below zero, which is the lowest temperature that's ever been recorded in this area. In South Carolina, they lost their crop with spring frost this year. Illinois were frozen out. There was a man here from Missouri that they didn't have a peach this year, and yet we have a full crop. But we can't go on forever improving our varieties and improving our yield per acre. There's a limit. You've got to have enough acres to work on.
In 1939, the Queen Elizabeth Highway was built so that tourists could see the orchards. It split the peninsula in two and has been devouring land ever since.
Now, with all these big interchanges, we're going to lose many acres right here on the station if they put a cloverleaf in down here. We'd hate to think that after the work that's gone into developing peaches, for example, that this station has become famous for it, we would lose that and would lose the industry to this area.
In some years, Niagara produces all of Canada's peach crop. Ironically, as the markets have grown in Canada's swelling cities, the orchards around them have shrunk, and the farmers can no longer grow enough peaches to meet the demand. Most of the canning factories, which used to be family concerns, are now owned by U.S. corporations, and vital decisions about the area are being made outside the country.
What do you grow here?
Well, it's from strawberries up to late pears, apples, pears, grapes.
At the front line of the battle between industry and agriculture, two farmers discuss their plight.
Was that a farm behind you?
That it was, yeah. It was a farm, the same farm, but it's in here.
Then what happened?
So they cut, first the service road off of us, We lost about 3.5 acres. And then they put the Seaman Street through. We lost 1.5 acres again. So this is cut from the farm.
How much could you sell it for?
Well, I said the first was service road for $7,000 an acre, and the Seaman Street was sold for $22,500.
If a farmer's offered $25,000 an acre for land, or even less, he's going to be awful tempted, don't you think, Bill, to accept that, because he can put that in any kind of securities today that will guarantee him a better living than he ever made off of that farm. I saw an economist and an accountant who worked out a plan for a young farmer, told him how much he had to invest in a farming operation. This was in a fruit-growing area. And they come to the conclusion that his total return could be as high as 2%. If he invested $242,000, he might get 2% of that back a year. They advised him to go and put it in Canada savings bonds if he had that much money, and he wouldn't have to work, and he'd get a bigger return. He'd be able to go fishing and hunting and to Florida every winter.
I'm a farmer. I'm born farmer, and so I like to be on it.
If you cover it up with cement and asphalt, you never recover that again for food production. It's lost forever.
But I think they should stop. They should stop, and soon, to save a little bit of a fruit, for our Canada, Otherwise...
Who are we saving it for?
Well, it's again for our children.
Some 30 miles back, at the center of the urban wave, the march of concrete and steel is inexorable. Bruce McLaughlin, a developer who believes that Canada should have 100 million people, has a different vision of the future.
Now here in the Square One Shopping Center, we're building a new city center. And what you see today is only a small part of what will ultimately be here. We've taken 237 acres and we've system designed a city center for a city of 1 million or more population. It's a new kind of city center. We're going to have an indoor people place that will stretch right across the city center. And also, we have an outdoor people place. We call it the horizon level. There will be no vehicles, no automobile congestion in this area. This could be a $1.5 billion project over the next 25 years. It can really be a better kind of mousetrap.
M.F. Jones, former president of an Ontario winery, lives in retirement at Niagara-on-the-Lake.
If society as a whole says the industrial society will give us a better living, and this is an ideal area, got water, power, climate, manpower, how are you going to stop industry from coming in? When the municipalities would just love to have a big factory, how are you going to do it? There's the toss-up going between this industrial philosophy versus the one that is basically a necessity to our living, isn't it? If we throw it away, we can all have that damned industrial society, and what do we eat? Synthetic cheese and synthetic whatever you have. That's what would happen. And I think it's a tragedy that we don't preserve these things. I really do. To me, it's a personal tragedy.
The loss of the land is a personal tragedy for Al Very, too.
See, if the land is good for farming, it's good for every other thing. It's good for houses, it's good for factory, because whatever makes it good for one is good for the other. I like to farm. I like the land. The land to me is more than just ground to plant a tree or a bush or a plant. The land means more than that to me.
Al, who has chosen the farming life, has a continuing argument with his brother Donnie, who has given up working the land to become a successful realtor. Donnie, who once farmed the land, now sells it.
There's only one way that people like you are going to understand, to make money. That's the only thing that you know. If somebody makes money and drives a car, a Cadillac or an Oldsmobile or Lincoln, well, he can do it. He must have the right way. I want to be a farmer. You think I'm crazy? A lot of people think I'm crazy. That's their prerogative. I think I can make a living on the farm.
If the people of Canada want to eat, they're going to have to pay for their food. And if they don't pay for it in one way, they're going to pay for it in another. And it's just as simple as that. If you want to eat, pay.
All right, so I'm willing to pay $1,000 an acre. But the land around here is costing $1,500 and $1,700 an acre. Because why? The speculators have bought it and hold on to it. Freeze it as agriculture. This is Class 1 land. Go to the Class 2 land. Let you go and do what the hell you want there.
The only way you ever get wealthy farming is when you sell your land. That's the only time. And now we got guys like Ab comes out and says, freeze the land. Give it up for $200 an acre or $300 an acre. Never mind those people in the city.
$300, only what it's worth for farming.
It's worth what somebody will pay, and if somebody will pay $10,000 an acre for it, that's what it's worth.
Well, if it's zoned for sure agriculture, then all the damn land is
all
worth
the government has got to do. They don't have to freeze it. They don't have to put land speculation tax. They don't have to do anything. All they got to do is say, look, that's agriculture, and agriculture it'll be. And it'll stay agriculture until such time as they require the land for a higher and better use.
And what is a speculator then? What is a speculator?
A speculator is an investor, is a guy just like you and I that's got a couple of bucks and he wants to own a piece of Canada. And I can't see anything wrong with that.
Now, I would like to point out that the #1 speculator in any country is a farmer, because he can only farm that land when it's worth up to $1,000 an acre. Beyond that point of land value, he becomes a speculator. But this isn't evil. I mean, this is normal. If you were a farmer and your land became worth $2,000 an acre and you believed it was going to go to $5,000 an acre next year and $10,000 an acre in another 10 years, you would begin to hold it back and speculate.